staff members sign them, so they actually all sign them, and we have a conversation every year around them. But they may have some different things that they think about. So, any questions about that? Or any pushbacks? Or all right. So, aligning our vision through continuous improvement, just the story of Northwoods International. So, let's see, how do I just click? There we go. So this, as I shared, is our vision and mission. Our vision is international mindedness through inquiry. And that's pretty simple. We can all, I think almost every staff member could say that. And then our mission, through discussion and collaboration, here at creating a caring learning environment while offering a strong inquiry-based curriculum that fosters open-mindedness about humanity, problem solving, and lifelong learning. Very much in line with our IB curriculum. And then I shared, like I was saying, my personal, whoops, that doesn't work. Well, that's right. My personal why is in that link there. So that's linked in your presentation if you'd want to look at it. Are you interested in that? Like,
will this be a Moodle?
I don't think we have it. Yeah.
Okay, maybe not. I'm not sure why. The link worked for me.
You're not in present. You have to be in present mode for links to work.
No, it doesn't work that either.
When you hover over it, there's not a link showing, so
Must have been. Yeah.
not
I'll share that with you. So these are these essential agreements for staff that I shared that we have all come up with. They started with my climate committee, and they came up with these as a blueprint and then shared it out with the whole staff for discussion. So we value sharing the load, so we all fulfill our responsibilities. There's a lot of feeling of maybe there's inequity and who does more work kind of thing. So that's one of our things. The second one we've talked about, talking with each other. The third one has become increasingly important, balance and self-care, so that we're invested and present at work and invested and present in our personal lives when we're there. And I've also recently created a wellness room for staff. So it has meditation and sounds and massager and waterfall, and we just opened that up. We have some incentives for using it. That's been pretty huge. Not that everybody, it's a good fit, but in really understanding that it's about self-care, and self-care is super important, and this is difficult work. We have the same kind of room for our students with a sensory room. We value trust, so we demonstrate braving, as I shared, and this is another really important one because of a unique of our school, inclusivity. So we help each other feel like we belong. Everyone is important. We have a few personal friendships that are real tight, and people do things outside of the school, which is great in some ways, but in some ways it can make people feel, when they see things on Facebook, excluded and things. So we're really, like when we're at school, we are all here. That's the poster that I was sharing. This is what's on the wall every year. It gets redone if we need to make changes. And we, like I said, we all sign it, not just teachers, but custodians, our Amity interns, everybody. So this is the thing that really drives us, all of our students. And you hear staff saying this, all of our students are all of our students. Another one of our challenges is the sort of, one of the groups is special ed staff and classroom teachers. So the special ed staff are a very tight and very strong group, and they are feel sometimes that classroom teachers don't understand their role, and vice versa. Classroom teachers are very tight, especially in their teams, and they feel special ed doesn't understand their role. And so seeing it from each other's perspective and really understanding that all of our kids are all of our kids. So we have, I think I have the book. Yeah, this book, we're doing a book study of this. Our pedagogical leadership team is starting with it. But yes, we can, which is about collaboration for special ed teachers and regular ed teachers, and how we can co-plan to co-serve has been one of our big growth areas, and having that growth mindset that is really essential.
Who's the author of that book?
Here, I can pass it around.
Yeah.
It's excellent in terms of setting up teams and things, which I'll get into in just a minute here. So there we go. Oh, switch accounts. That's maybe why I didn't show it before.
No, it's not linked in the agenda or the Moodle because you weren't done with your presentation.
Okay, we can move it. The only thing, Wendy, is because you're in sign in as you, I can't get to these links, so I'm gonna have to.
Then they're not going to be able to get into the links either, so you're gonna have to change the link settings.
Okay.
Your middle name is Joy?
Joe. Joe, actually, yeah. Why do you know someone who's been labeled?
My wife's middle name is Joy. I just thought it was Joy. I read too fast.
Yeah, can't get in here.
And you have the link sharing. Oh, wait, I might have got it now. You actually, in the presentation of the link sharing turned off. And that could be part of the reason.
Okay, do you know how to fix that? Because I can't click on this here. Well, here, how about if I just sign into my own account here?
If you refresh your agenda, there's a link to this presentation in her agenda.
So here it is. I'm in my own account now. So this is.
I know.
So I need you to come do that on this computer for the people that are online,
Oh, I see. Okay.
because otherwise they're not going to
Do
be
you
able
want to
to
try to
see
get that
it.
to show a little better then? Sorry about this, guys.
Okay, no problem.
We're trying to.
Technology problem.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. In the middle of a lesson. I was. This doesn't work. Right under and yeah, and then if you're able to, then you lose your kids. I know.
If you refresh the agenda, you should be able to access the presentation that she was in before. This, she's going to have to change rights, because if it would not come up on my login, it's not going to come up on yours.
All right, so this is the Northwoods International School Improvement Plan. It's actually a 5-year rolling plan, and every year we change it slightly, but basically same thing. And here's our mission and vision, like I shared, and then this is the district mission and vision, so we'll have to be aligned to that as well. But then we have goals, and every one of our goals is run by a team. So the team is responsible for the strategies for this, for achieving this goal, for the results, for discussing the results, for reporting out the results. So as an example, meet the needs of students with complex behaviors through universal support and tier 2 and tier 3 interventions. This is our attributes leadership team, which is IB language, but it's basically our PBIS team. And so then they, each one of them is responsible. That's been a really important kind of shift. It seems kind of simple, but to have it that tight that each team is responsible for that aspect. And then each team has a leader, team leader. And before every meeting, I meet with that team leader to plan the agenda. Sometimes they have it already done, and I just say, oh, I'd like to add this, or not at all. For example, my secretary, my administrative assistant, she's 26 years old. She is my alt team leader. So she's the PBIS coach. She's got a business degree. She's incredibly interested in this. And so she leads that whole team and does some incredible things with community building. So this is my pedagogical leadership team. They are my leadership team is in charge of everything. They lead the IB things and so on. So just scroll through just so you can see briefly what all those teams are. And then the strategies are all here. Climate is my essential agreements leadership team, like I've shared, and they're in charge of climate. And this is the benchmark management team. This is our math assessment data and all students doing well on our district benchmark math assessment, not just STAR or Wisconsin Forward, but our curriculum-based ones, and focusing specifically on the foundational skills. That's what that means, the MBT and NF. And then Spanish, which is an important thing. And so we have language goals and targets for every grade, and we report out on those Spanish targets. And we lead our final destination is a biliteracy seal for all kids, so they're completely bilingual in Spanish. So that's an important team as well. Does anyone have any questions on that?
Yeah, I've seen this form before.
Have you? From
Is it
another
like-
lacrosse person, you mean, or?
Oh, yeah, she was
Yeah.
in lacrosse.
Yes, we are. Amber, sure.
Because when she did the special ed improvement plan for Sparta, that's what it looks like. I'm like, is that a DPI thing?
No,
No.
this is a district lacrosse thing. Michael Huckey, our director of curriculum instruction and assessment,
Okay.
developed this.
I
Yeah.
like that.
And then this is the ELA goal. And then this is also looking at equity and closing gaps, achievement gaps. So we're measuring those kids who are economically disadvantaged against those who are non-economically disadvantaged.
I was just gonna say too, if the link still doesn't, it's asking me to request access.
Yeah, me too.
Okay,
Just an FYI.
thank you.
Can I see the bottom part? That,
This part?
yeah. Up a little.
So-
Who's responsible? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so it's, what is the action plan? Who is responsible? What resources? When will it happen? And then at the end of the year, like I said, each team has to fill out, was it successful? And then we fill out the top part here as well. So you see that's overall results need to be done by the 15th. So we have to report out as teams what was the end result.
So most teachers use this as their SLO.
Yes,
Yeah.
one of these. They either
They can kind of pick one that they.
well, I've said this year that their ELA has to be their grade level goal,
Okay.
their grade level, but their personal SLO can be either math or reading.
So that would be nice. I mean, just if it aligns with like your SLO to be like that.
Yes,
Yeah.
right, and that's right. Oh, having that alignment.
Yeah.
So here we go. You ask the question. Staff are required to write a grade level SMART goal aligned to the academic school improvement goal. They're also encouraged to align their individual SLOs to the academic.
I don't know where you went with the presentation on here when you brought that up. It's not here anymore.
How do you click that? How come it's not letting me click? Here we go. All right, so our goal statement, like I shared, was 50% of our kids will receive 80% or more on those foundational skills on the district math assessment. That's the one that we are aligned to. So how does that look for each grade level? So this is what each grade level, this was actually from last year, which is what our goal was last year, but this is each one of our SLOs then for our grade levels that needed to be aligned to that. And then I have those like on an intervention tracking sheet. So make sense? So then they report out as a grade level team, and they have those conversations in their PLCs, and I also give them time to talk about their individual SLOs. So it just makes it easier because they have that data they need to keep anyway. And then the PLCs and the GLPs. So what is that? Every Wednesday we have PLCs, which are focused around results, Wednesday mornings. And then Monday afternoons after school, we have GLPs, which are grade level planning, which are focused on planning those IB units and which are aligned to our standards. And then also reflecting on the success of those, which is a requirement of IB, as we go to hopefully an early release, and we'll have more extended time for those conversations, which is pretty huge. But this is our master agenda. I don't know if you need to show this, Wendy, but it's just an agenda format for the grade level planning. They have this as a template, and it's a template that they can, or they need to revise. And actually I have my leaders changing this. So I have the IB coordinator putting up the agendas in each grade level as like, here's the things we suggest everybody covers, then you modify it for your grade level. And for PLCs, I have my instructional coach, which is a different person, put up the PLCs and here's the things we suggest. You can modify it, but just, we had some people like, oh, what should we do? You know, so we have that up there as guiding the discussion. So we have a folder for PLCs, a folder for GLPs, and agendas for every time with action items to go over. Okay, any questions about that?
So sorry, you said those are suggested items for them to go over, or some of them are you have to do?
That's a good question. Some of them are have tos, unless there's a reason why you're going to do that at a different time, okay, or whatever. But I want to make it meaningful. We started off being really tight on that, but some grade levels are having more extended conversations about some additional things, and maybe they combine some agenda items. Okay. I want to give staff the flexibility, but I also want to have them, here's the things we have to address.
And then that folder is shared with you?
Yes, we have a shared drive, like a Northwoods International shared drive.
All the teachers can access the different grade levels, agendas. And
yes.
That's a good accountability piece, because I recall when we first started going to PLCs in one of my previous districts, the principal wanted to get the teachers to use that planning time differently, looking at data versus planning.
Right.
And so
I like
to separate
those.
the planning. It's like, it was like, Mondays was for PLC, and that was like data, but people weren't doing that.
Right.
And so then he did move to like, I want you to share your agenda with me, because I want to make sure you're talking about data, that you're not talking about, we're going to do this activity and this activity and this activity.
Right, right. And that's where I was sharing that some of my teams really are working at high levels on that. They really get it, and they bring data, they all bring their math assessments. Like my third grade team is just rock stars, and it's showing with their results. And some of my other teams are like, data, we're all in different places. And so I've been having one-to-one crucial conversations with the leader and saying, then it's not a PLC, and I get it, but how can we start then? How can we have maybe one meeting a month where we all bring data and we talk about it? What's data that's meaningful to you? Is it walkthrough data about developmentally appropriate practices? Is it, what can we agree on? And frankly, I'm not there. And it's just that one team that's really, really struggling with that. But kindergarten's hard anyway, right? So it's like.
Well, and maybe that's behavioral data, like not necessarily.
When one of our PLCs each month is behavior data. So
Okay.
share that. So once every month after our alt meeting, the alt team members get the data, and then they bring it to their PLC and they review, my grade level, what are the things that are the high level needs, what's the things we're struggling with, what do we need to do for our morning meetings, what skills are lagging, what do we need to reteach, how can we focus on that. So we're really being data-based at social emotional learning as well.
Sandy, how long are these meetings? I see they start at 3:30.
Go till 4:10 every Monday. Although I did change it because there was some pushback about, just too many meetings. So the last Monday of the month is individual planning time. So they stay, but it's time where you can work individually in your own rooms and do things, and you don't need to be with your team, just to have that catch-up time to do your own kind of planning.
So is your contract day 4:10 every day?
No, we have 3 hours of administratively called time that we're allowed to add to each month that they are required to be able to put in. Does that make sense? And if you go over the 3 hours, so let's say, I call a world language meeting in addition to these 3 hours, then I, as a world language supervisor, need to pay them a curriculum rate for that. but up to 3 hours. So then when they do their labor report, they have to put the 3 hours, those are not paid, and then what's beyond that.
Yeah.
So most people don't go beyond that. And then, like I shared, coaching conversations, asking questions to lead staff to come to their own understanding. I have something here, which is coaching a person in crisis. In the interest of time, I'm just going to share this other one here. Oh, gotta switch accounts again here. I guess I gotta go here.
Out of curiosity, it's completely side note. Did your district, so you're a Google-based school district, right, in La Crosse?
Mm-hmm.
Have you guys talked at all about moving away from Google because it's harvesting student data?
No, not really, but we probably should, right, Wendy?
Mhm. Yeah.
Who's
if-
not harvesting student data?
I guess, but you have to think about PII, which is personally identifiable information, and there's a PII video on the DPI website to really get you thinking about what you're putting in Google, because it is frightening. I mean, a Google folder can be shared with anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It can accidentally be shared with a student
Yeah.
because they have Google accounts. So being very
Felt like the behavior plan.
My IEP.
Yeah.
Yeah, whenever I do an initial evaluation,
Yeah.
the Google,
Testing results. and-
the assessment results.
So,
the template is the Google
not
form.
there. Go, do you see where my little head is?
We have a program,
Yeah,
Because you're
and now
in,
we.
I'm here, there I am.
Climber? I heard that's supposed to be really good.
The
and
only thing is,
say,
how do I get back? to
say
my-
Then
change
you can have,
account.
like, personal,
Okay.
Like student pay, I think, we still use Google, but there's not. I would
And
think
now
that
you're
would be
in
more
use. So now go into the presentation.
More like programs that we kind of purchase.
We're talking about moving to Microsoft. Outlook and-
I don't know why, because I was in before.
I don't know. User
Could it be
friendly.
worse?
Did you put a personal thing?
Yeah.
So with EduClimber, can you
Yeah.
share?
Doing this.
Yeah, and you
We
know,
just
like, so we all have like access.
I suppose you have access to your students.
Yeah, and then like I'm on like the literacy one too, like I can see, we do like we're doing like our real data, so we have like 5 essential standards. So I can see all the buildings, like
Can we take it back?
summative.
You bet.
Assessments that they're doing at the end in EduClimber too.
Yeah.
So it's pretty nice.
Yeah, because
Like the
everything,
admin team can see all, and then we check our behaviors on there too. So we do like.
and that's different than attendance.
Yeah,
And
we use PowerSchool for that.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have like F&P scores, star data
Hmm,
goes on there,
that's not in PowerSchool.
behavior, nope, that's all at EduClimber now. So it's kind of nice, that's all.
Do
I
the
do,
two
like-
talk? EduClimber and
I don't
PowerSchool?
know. No.
Because that was one thing, because then I wonder what you use for IEPs.
They,
See?
it's a PSC.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I did
Shut your
too.
hands.
Oh,
But-
that's what we
Or
just
not.
got.
But then what's hard is
Yes,
like,
say yes.
then the 3 don't communicate,
No, they don't.
and so it doesn't like pull information, so you can, like go
Yeah.
into each one separately.
You do.
Look at those test
They had to
results.
set everything up in EduClimber, but now, like, the star reports get automatically into EduClimber. Like, we don't have to put those, the only thing we have to manually put in is behaviors and like
Yeah.
data, but everything else, as far as my knowledge, is uploaded in there, so.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, that should become.
Well, probably because,
Would you have,
It's your work account.
yeah.
And all your stuff in your work account, I can't give share rights to. And I can't figure out how to pause recording.
oh no.
So the break is being recorded.
I see, you're doing, let's talk about your misunderstanding. Okay, so now let's talk about support. Like, what do you really need for support? How can I support you? How can I work beside you? How can I help you? What do you need to make this work? So, to be honest, the person still didn't really want to do this. They still didn't, it wasn't a part of what their why was, right? But at least we have clarity about what it was and the support and things like that. Does that make sense? So it all is about empathy, clear communication, listening, and then, using that. And then frankly, following up. So I've had one follow-up conversation after that. I'm going to have more. The other thing, we're nearly done, but this is really, really important. Celebrating benchmark successes towards achieving your vision. We have stand-up meetings twice a month usually, sometimes once a month. They are for all staff, custodians, cooks, everyone. We shout out and celebrate birthdays, births, engagements, but also SGP goals being met. And we celebrate somebody who's gone above and beyond, somebody who rode the bus home with a student who was struggling, Mr. Hine. That's our next stand-up, that's coming. So, and then individual awards. So I always give a team award. So a team that's working together, that third grade rock star team that I shared, celebrated their growth, had them share out what they did. And then we have these tiny little trophies, and then every team member gets a trophy. And then when they come to the next stand-up, they bring them back and someone else gets the trophies. And we also have these little share it forward kind of little note cards that have a little hand on them. So if I do an individual shout out to you, then the idea is that you'll at the next stand-up meeting or another time share out a shout out with someone. And that was something I just discovered was missing. We just didn't have this staff unity time to celebrate. All of our staff meetings were pretty much training or information. So it's just a short, we don't sit down. And the why again is staff unity and celebration. Questions about that? Yeah, so I guess we have a minute here because we're not quite done. So I'll just share, that's the little trophy. And that's the token of appreciation. And so, like I said, we have sometimes information and then shout outs. And we just go around the table. Oh, the other important thing is then I take all those shout outs, put them into a box, and then I draw, and I always give out 2 coffee awards. Or quick trip awards or something. So that's something I just personally buy with my money. But you'd be surprised how people are excited about getting a $5 coffee award or whatever. So $5 something like that. And so the team awards, they all get in there beforehand. So I put their names in already ahead of time, and then everybody's awards go in there. So that fits what that book taught us, right? With the book we just read. Mm-hmm. So that is the presentation. I will do a screenshot or something of those things that don't link and link those as PDFs. And so you'll have those. So you can kind of see those things. And if you have any questions about it or want to learn more or how did this work or this isn't working. But it's been a work in progress. Like I said, it's my 11th year at Northwoods, and these things have sort of come into play over time, but it's all about what's a good fit with your staff and your building, right? What I've learned is what works at Northwoods probably wouldn't work at Northside and wouldn't work at Southern Bluffs. It has to be about your culture and what fits and what are the lagging skills of your staff and what are the strengths of your staff and how can you build on those things. So, does anyone have any questions?
I saw you have a template for a person in crisis.
Oh yeah, that's.
How often does that?
Well, I'll be honest.
What qualifies as a crisis?
Yeah, I can share that with you here. That has happened more so over the last years. I've had, I'll be honest, some people who've had some mental health issues. Our population has changed in a big way, and we have some students with really intense needs and a lot of trauma. We have all the shoe homes at Northwood, so all the kids at shoe homes basically come from trauma, or their families are in shoe homes because of mental health or addiction issues, and so those children come with a lot of needs. So there's been a couple people who've taken some leaves, who've had some kind of breakdowns. One person who left the profession, so a younger staff maybe didn't recognize that this was all that kind of thing. So someone shared this with me. This isn't something I created, but I thought this was pretty powerful. Like, what because frankly, it is my trigger. I've discovered, last this summer, I spent a lot of time thinking about my triggers, is when someone is struggling, right? So when a teacher is struggling or in crisis or is having a hard time or feels unsafe, emotionally unsafe or psychologically unsafe or physically unsafe, that I feel personally responsible. I feel like it's like my fault. And even if I've gotten all the supports and extra people in that room and training and had the coach in, or myself in there or whatever, still I feel at some deep level like if I was a good enough principal, they wouldn't feel that way. So, but that isn't always true, right? I mean, I can't control, or it isn't true. I can't control kids. I can try to support in every possible way I can. So I actually went to EAP for a management consult, actually, to say, how do I support teachers when they're in crisis, because recognizing this is a trigger for me. And they talked about really how many times people leave the profession and like most people have 3 careers nowadays. Like people have lots of different careers. And what is it about teachers that we feel we can't leave the profession or we don't want to leave the profession? And this is hard work, and some of it's got a heart for, some of us it doesn't, or so she really, and she encouraged me for strategies. And it comes down to this, really empathizing, being there, being present, not trying to fix it in that moment, just being present, asking, accepting, communicating acceptance and unwavering compassion. We're going to get through this. How can I be helpful? How do you think I could be helpful? But my tendency, and probably many of you, if you're studying principles, is to fix it. Like, how can we fix this? So actually, recently I just talked to a teacher who's really coming out of she's found some answers and she's been working with some groups and she's feeling a lot better. But I just said to her, I said, my heart really just hurt for you. And she said, mine did too. And yeah, so we both are hurting. I'm hurting for you and you're hurting. So I don't want to be drama about it, but these are difficult jobs sometimes in our profession. If you're a person who especially has a lot of anxiety or perfectionistic tendencies or, things like that.
Being in a
Just 1 in 3
situation.
people now in the US.
What's that?
Anxiety.
Yeah, right.
Think about that's 33% of your staff.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I happen to know a lot of my staff are taking anxiety medicines.
Yes.
I know that for sure. And many of them are very open. Some of them are really open and have shared strategies. That's one of the reasons behind our mindfulness room and our wellness room. In fact, in my staff bathrooms too, you notice the salt lamps. So we have like salt lamps and you can turn off the lights and just have that moment, and just do a little bit of meditation, deep breathing.
Are we supposed to link those?
Only if you're a
Is
deer.
it salt or sand? What,
It tastes like salt.
Oh, so you have
Please,
like
Joe.
that.
They're right next to
That was
each
my personal Christmas gift to say, because one of the teachers said I really would like that. I don't know that I'll use the wellness room, but another building has this too. So
I'm working in a situation right now, just given my role again with that middle management, and with a teacher, and her son goes to school there, and he's really struggling. And it's really
at Northwoods,
no.
Oh, okay.
Where I-
Oh, I thought.
It's part of. Yeah, so the mom teaches there, the son goes
Got
to
it.
school there. I'm kind of like her peer, maybe a little bit
I
above.
wouldn't be surprised. Yeah.
And my position is to work with these challenging students, and it's kind of like it's bad, and she knows it's bad, and so like I need to have a professional conversation with her.
That's awkward.
It's so awkward, but I want to like have I have a personal connection with her too, so I just the other day I called her and said, we have to go to manifestation, all this kind of stuff. But then I wanted to say to her, but like, I want to relate to you on a mother to mother basis too. And I got emotional and she got emotional and like, but then I have to maintain my professional, like these are the things that we have to do. So not to be able to take it on is really hard.
Isn't it?
I want to fix it and I want to make you feel better.
Yeah, I know.
And I want to, and then I put a lot of like stress and responsibility on myself, like, no, I know I can come up with the right plan for him. I know I can. And it's like, no, I can't do that.
Right.
Yeah. So.
No, so you can identify. You
I'm
can.
showing it right
But
now.
showing that vulnerability
Yes.
is a big piece of that.
It is,
too.
because I want her to know that, she has someone to come to, but at the flip side of it, it's that, that professionalism of, I can't do something because we have a personal connection. You know what I mean? Like make an exception to the rules
Exactly, right.
because of that.
Well, and I just want to be clear, it's not just at Northwoods. Our human resources director says more and more people every year are asking for leaves because of mental health reasons. And that it's just, so we're really looking at this. I've been meeting with Nicole Millerin, Circle of Security, and I've been working, we have a mental health liaison coming and meeting with staff if they need to, you know, just anything I can do to support that. I think it's a good statistic, and I'll end there, but 1 out of 3. I mean, so if you have anxiety and kids are getting hurt or you're being hurt, or, I mean, I had a student with very, very special needs, but the teacher said, focus so-and-so, and he is a 5th grade boy, very large boy, punched her right in the chest and made a huge bruise, and she was fine. And I can tell you other staff that would happen to would have probably needed to be away for a couple days, but she was absolutely, so it just depends on your staff, right? And how they handle things. She just knew it wasn't personal, and she said, I'm not hurt that bad, it's just a bruise, it'll go away. And I actually had a son that same thing happened to, and she could never come back to my school. So I'll end on that, but great discussion. Thank you for your empathy. And your empathy and compassion about the technology. Oh, okay. So now we want to get into the next one. Thank you.
Still your turn.
It's still my turn, right? So we want to get into the agenda here. Because now comes your turn to do an assignment. So now you can reflect on what you would do if you were, when you are a principal. You saw just one woman's vision and perspective, one school's, but how would you as a principal create and lead a shared vision for learning and continuous improvement? You're going to be asked to write a paper now. You'll have some time during class till 12:15. And so that you can turn this into me now, or if you need some time afterwards. But those are the questions, key considerations. How will you frequently explain to those responsible the rationale for your vision, your why? Will you allow those responsible for implementation freedom, autonomy, determine the best way to do it, and how? How will you connect the vision action to measurable data? You saw what I do, but how will you do it? What is that data? How will you ensure adults responsible will set short-term targets or SMART goals? You saw how we did that, but how will you do that? How will you monitor and coach expected vision steps for actual implementation, weekly or monthly, the training? How will you respond to monitoring vision by celebrating those actions? How will you respond to monitoring by often providing immediate, specific, and corrective feedback, those coaching conversations like I shared? How will you clearly and regularly communicate to those you, I like to say, love and lead, the non-negotiable aspect of vision action? So pretty much, I hope I covered sort of how I do that, but just to write that up.
But also use your reading, your personal vision test, along with this, and just your other experiences, and go back and think about the rubric. What do you know about shared vision for learning and continuous improvement? How are they connected? And why it's important, what you will do as a principal. So as you're writing your paper, remember that rubric, because that's what we will use to grade.
Is it someone that was on the syllabus that was due February?
No, that's the second part of today. This
Okay.
is one we just have some time for you to write now to start. That will be a culmination of what you learned from Wendy's presentation this
But
afternoon.
actually, both of the papers are not due until February 7th.
Okay.
So we're giving you right now,
That's what I just
From-
wanted to see. That was
yeah,
on the-
from now to
Okay.
12:15 to have your lunch and get a go on that paper.